3, 2, 1.
So, back to the technology show.
It is the technology show where we translate geek into regular speak. I'm Brett Levy. I'm your host this week. So I'm chopping things up again. I can't really seem to stick to the format that I'm supposed to. I think maybe I need to get some sponsors back on board. At least that way it will keep me, this and this sponsored by so and so. So there was a hint, shameless plug for a sponsorship, etc., etc. But the reason I'm chopping things up this week is, I've got an exciting guest, and I'll bring him in a bit later, and definitely not new to the show in any way, shape, or form. If you have been following me on LinkedIn or Facebook, I've definitely mentioned that he'll be joining us a bit later on. I'm going to try and keep a couple of things normal. So today there's no things with a Z. And I don't think I'm doing Are You Game either, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't looked that far down my list of what I'm doing. But the hint is the reason I call the show, or the segment rather, Things with a Z, and the fact that I'm going to jump into news spelt with a Z. That might give you a little bit of a hint of who the guest is. I was going to say co-host, but maybe another hint there as well, giving away too much. So let's get into it. Tech news. What have we got up first? Oh, this one's a beaut. So Microsoft are rebranding their blue screen of death to black. Now, at first, I thought this was actually an April Fool's joke. I actually had to go in and research and make sure that it wasn't an April Fool's joke, because I try and prep the news as close to the show as possible. So yesterday being April 1st. But no, that it seems to be something that they're doing. They're going to be changing it from blue to black. I don't know why I never thought of that. If I was going to be the second worst or third or fourth worst software company in the world, all I needed to do was change my blue screen of death to the black screen of death. Here's a silly idea for the tech engineers over at Microsoft. Why don't you just fix the operating system? Could work, right? Just fix it, make it work better, make it nearly as good as Apple, and you might actually have something there. I think I've already given them too much time. Let's move on. What do we got next? Right. Okay. So I have to start off with, I like Elon Musk. I have no problem with Elon Musk. Elon does a couple of stupid things. I have offered him a hug before. He didn't take me up on that. But yeah, he's now sold his own company to himself. So that's a bit of a problem. So basically, if you haven't been following the news, X, I actually refuse to call it X, it's still Twitter, but Twitter, X, has now been sold to XAI. Now, is that a tax front? Like if you've got a loss in one company, but you've got a massive profit in the other company, then maybe you can bring the loss into the one because you're buying it. I don't know. I'm not an accountant. It's a little bit weird for me that they would do something like this. I don't see a reason why you need to bring X into the into XAI, which is his AI division. They're kind of aligned anyway, but it was like a $33 billion deal, which is a bargain considering he paid $44 billion for it 3 years ago. X is now part of XAI. We'll see what happens with that. As I said, I still refuse to call it X. And the question is why, and maybe Z you later. I know I'm really going for straws here. So yeah, Elon, look, he's one of the cleverest people in the world, and he is the wealthiest person in the world. So he generally does stuff for a good reason. But it'll be interesting to see if that's it. If anyone can lean in on that and tell me if there are any benefits to moving one loss into the other, if that still applies. I know like in certain countries you can't do that anymore, or you can't sell a company with a loss to put that loss against profit in another company. I know it's like that in Australia. I'm not sure about anywhere else. Anyway, what else we got? 31st of March was World Backup Day. Now, I talk about this quite a bit. it's actually quite ironic that the day afterwards would be April Fool's, right? Because you would really be a fool if you haven't backed up. And I think the most important thing is not one backup. Definitely, I use cloud and I use physical hard drive. So I have if you don't know by now, I'm on Apple, but on Apple we have a thing called Time Capsule. And with Time Capsule, it automatically backs up your whole machine. It's there, it's secure, but it's on a physical hard drive that sits in my machine. Sorry, it sits in my office. Whereas I do also use Google Drive. I put all my documents, photos, anything like that into Google Drive as well. So I have both. So I think the fact that it was World Backup Day and the fact that we have a World Backup Day is quite an important one. I get questions all the time on Q&A about backup and which is the right way to do it. I think I'm actually going to do a show on it because there's also ways to save money on backups. Like instead of just hoofing huge amounts of cash onto Apple iCloud every 2 seconds, you can find other ways to do it. And what else we got? There should be more news. Oh, how could I forget this? Right. So, and I mean, for those that are watching, there's a couple of screens that are up there. But when I say you can't forget this, tonight Nintendo is going to finally announce the Switch 2. We've been waiting for this device for a really long time. If you are in Brisbane or Queensland time, it'll be 11. I think it's 11 p.m. tonight, our time. So if you're in Sydney, it's a really late night for you. It's probably the first time I've been happy about the fact that we have an hour time delay. But yeah, 11 o'clock tonight, Brisbane time, and then you do the maths on the other time zones. I don't know. I'm not that diligent. The show will be about a year, about a year. It'll be about an hour long, and they're going to take us through all the things on what to expect or what we believe is coming on Nintendo Switch 2. Well, there we go. I didn't do an Are You Game section, but talking about Nintendo Switch is pretty much one of the last article things on my tech news. And I don't know if you can see it, but I am wearing a gaming shirt as well. So I'm still in the spirit of it. Right. So anyway, that takes us to the end of tech news. And I know that, I can see that my guest is sitting in the waiting room. He's there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tease up first. I don't know if this works because I've never really done it before. For those of you that are watching the show, you are going to see something, and that's going to be a great interlude for the guest and what we're going to talk about. For those of you that are listening to the show, I know a lot of people listen to my show and podcast. You're going to just hear some sound and noise, but just stick with me. I think it's about 30 seconds. So I think this is the first time I've actually ever played a video on my show. So hopefully I get this right. Let's see what happens. Wow. Okay, how's that for an introduction to my guest for the week, Mr. Aryeh Sternberg? As I said earlier, if you haven't watched the show before, you should have worked out the cues if you had. Let's bring him in here without ado. Hello, sir. How are you?
What's happening? Good.
Yeah, it's been too long, man. So for all the people that were listening to the show that didn't get to see that super cool show reel, and before we start talking about the what's it? OMNI Generative Film Festival. Is that right? No,
That's
I've
it.
cocked that.
That's it. Yeah,
Okay,
you got it. You got it. Yeah.
Generative Film Festival. I'm going to just put up my ticker and show everyone what it is. Wow, dude. So I'm going to do a proper intro now, because I know a lot of people do listen to the show. Aryeh is the GOAT. He is the original co-host with me when we started the technology show 7, 8 odd years ago. Then all kinds of different journeys went. He went the one way, I went the other. In fact, you even left the country, dude. You went over to India, I think, for a while.
I did.
But you have come onto the show many times, so people would have heard you, would have seen you. We still honor you with things with a Z because he's an American. Tech News with a Z, not Z. Dude, that looks phenomenal. So I'm going to keep quiet, which is not something that happens that often. Tell us about the OMNI Generative Film Festival. It's a mouthful. Go.
OMNI Generative Film Festival. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure, particularly with the news in the last week, where everyone's sort of studio giblifying their families and friends on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Um, Generative AI is not quite a household name, but I think most people recognize them and know that we can now use these tools just by typing text into a text box to create things. And so this idea of, bringing AI supported film or even fully AI generated film into the common landscape is, where it's at. And as you can see from that trailer, and honestly now over 120 hours of submitted footage,
Wow.
there is
Well done.
there's a lot of there's a lot, and that's a drop in the bucket. But people are, exploring and trying out new ways to create film and create video and moving image, and really it's the power of the imagination, and it enabling and giving the ability for anyone to take, an idea in their mind and give it life, literally to make it look and feel real. At this point, some of the entries truly look like, act like you could not tell the difference between a regular film. um, it's not there yet, but anyone has probably seen a Marvel movie or a Disney film, or anything with where AI has been in the job. But you see the credits last for 15 minutes versus two people that could put
Yeah.
together a full film, and that's really kind of what we're exploring and where we're looking at.
I just got to say hi to Dave quickly. I'll put him up on the screen. Hey, Dave. um, Dave, glad you've tuned in. You're going to love this segment, buddy, with the work that you do and used to do with modeling and that. I think I just want to take a step back, Aryeh. AI is just every second person is now doing something in AI. At Mobile World Congress this year, it was the AI show. I talked about that when I did my show review. I use AI. You use AI. I'm pretty sure most people use AI. And someone's going to jump and say, "Oh, what's AI?" They're not listening to the show. The bottom line is those that, and I want to give a shout out to Travis Rice as well. I know on your designation it says co-founder. I believe that Travis is the other co-founder, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I've seen some of the work that Travis has done. Hopefully, he's got a couple of submissions, and there's no bias in choosing the winner here. But basically, this all good ideas in life are obvious. It's because they're good ideas, and they become obvious. Well done to both of you. This is obvious, but it hasn't been done. And I don't know if they're doing this anywhere else around the world. I don't know if you guys are a first, but for the people that are listening to the show, you got to kind of understand. People are now creating content, motion content, not just pictures and movies and things that we've been talking about. People are going to be doing. We have a freaking film festival. I mean, this is cool. So take us through first of all, are you, to your knowledge, the first? I mean, is this the first generative film festival that we getting here, or what's the story?
Definitely not the first in the world. There have been a couple very interesting. The first in Sydney, particularly bringing together international content. I think we've got over 25 countries that have submitted entries, and
Wow.
we haven't. There's no restriction. Really, what's happened is it's not weekly or daily with the generative film platforms, like Runway or Kling, but we are seeing the advancement happening just at a steady and rapid pace. And so, for example, Runway is one of the first, or the kind of the name brand, that most people think of. They just released their Gen 4 film capabilities, and the quality is literally indistinguishable from what you'd see with human actors. And so, even from the first entries that came in a couple of months ago to the entries coming in this week. And entries are still available through April 10th if anyone watching would like to enter still.
They
But
go to do they go to the website that I had up? I can put it back up again to primevariable.co for the entries. Is that where they go?
yeah, there's a link off of there that goes to the entries as well as we do visit the we'll get into it later, but
Okay.
yeah, April 29th is when we're having the event to showcase the winning entries. But just the quality of the entries from when we first started 2 months ago to now, you can see that a difference, and you can see, how people are using not just a single platform or one or two or three or five, but just the, the smoothness and the breadth of what's coming in from anime style to modified humans to photorealistic to some pretty wild stuff.
Well, that was
And
one of the things that
yeah,
I wanted to touch on with you as well. And I said when Dave said hi earlier, that he'd appreciate this. I want to take a little bit of a segue into the gaming industry, which, as you know, I'm very passionate about and very involved in. But the biggest problem that we've faced in gaming is that you can't get humans to look real in games. They do a good job, but it's still not there. And I'm talking about, your shooter games and your big open world games and so on. When you look at what's being done in generative AI, and when, and the kind of, I mean, even if someone watches the little show reel that we just put up now, or just Googles it, you cannot tell that those are not humans, like real humans that have been put into acting model. It's perfect. It's generating it perfectly. It's creating it. The lip sync is perfect. Everything is perfect, right? And I mean, what scares me, we'll talk about deep fakes and that next. But now, is there a possibility, or not? I'm sure there's a possibility, but how long do you think it's going to be before the game development companies start clipping onto this type of tech and integrating that into games so that we now, because games and movies go hand in hand. I mean, we're seeing spin offs now of TV shows that are coming from the gaming world, but they shot live action, right? They're real people
yeah,
acting. We can remove that. We can take the game studio that creates the game using different tools now and more realistic tools, but then they can actually create the movies themselves with those characters. We don't need, what I'm saying is, I don't have to find an actor that looks like The Rock. I can just use the character that I've got in my game to be that character in the movie, right? Oh, there we go. So yeah,
there's all these paradigms that are happening at the same time, and it's going to take a little while before they all come together, but we are seeing them coming together. And I think it's less that they'll use the tools that are available to create more realistic humans, or more realistic looking and higher fidelity models and actors in the games. But when you have this idea of agentic AI, which is sort of this next step that everyone's trying to reach to, I heard a podcast with the CEO of Unity. I think it was a decoder from The
yep,
Verge, and he was saying that the vertical integration of these different agents that one person drives means that one person can tell an agent can go do something. For example, render the facial features. Another one's rendering, how an eyebrow goes up and down, and that's being done by this AI agent. But there's still a master puppeteer or puppeteers, driving that, or even telling an agent to drive those agents. Whereas right now, you've got one human and telling a whole bunch of other humans, and the cost of that's going down. And we see, that the gaming companies, the large, and pretty much everyone in the creative industry is either, stopping hiring or even cutting heaps of creatives. And
yeah,
the challenge that brings is that um, the AI doesn't come up with the ideas. It still needs to be given direction. And so, while we can cut the costs and make that production faster and easier and more automated, we can't lose the genius and that comes with the inception, and that, just the symphony that the creatives bring. Someone has to come up with those incredible ideas, and that's what I'm a little bit worried about losing. So, short answer is, they're coming into play, and they will be used, and it will make things cheaper and faster. But also, we have to be aware of the homogenization of creativity.
yep. So let's go back to the deep fake discussion, right? I mean, I've been following this, obviously not as closely as you do, but I mean, from a marketing point of view, I look at it where there's quite a few fails online where the guys are punting their tech that they can now put brands in people's hands, but the logo is the wrong way around, like, so there's still a bit
Yeah.
of things to get going. But uh, it's so hard to tell who is and who isn't real. And even more so when you look at the non-motion AI. So when you look at pictures, um, it looks like Trump. It looks like Keanu Reeves. It's so hard to distinguish. What are we going to do? And this is actually a question of responsibility to people like you, for example, right? So you're putting this festival together, you're working with these creatives, they're submitting content, they're being incentivized to create content and to move us to that next generation. And we're moving there. It doesn't matter what we do or don't do, we are going that way. But there's got to be some form of responsibility or tracking or something that goes, hey, hold on a second, this was produced using AI. Or, what are we going to be doing to warn people? Because, you know, with all tech, you get good and evil. And it's only up to humans to make tech evil. Tech doesn't make itself evil. But there's nothing stopping me now making a movie of, the White House being bombed. I hope I don't get taken off YouTube or Facebook for using those words now. But you know what I mean. As a hypothec, you can make it so real and so believable. And you see that just on WhatsApp, right? People are sharing content or Messenger, whatever your platform of choice is, and they believe it to be real. And you actually have to go back to them and go, well, no, it's not, but it's nice. You know, what do we do there?
What's really been interesting is that there hasn't been a lot of talk about deep fakes, especially in the last 12, 18 months. I mean, there was that video footage of, I think it was, I think it was Trump sucking Elon Musk's toes or the other way around that was put into the
I'm so
Department
glad
of
you
Health.
said toes. I have the show now scheduled as an all ages, but
Yeah,
thank you.
no, 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 it was toes. But that it wasn't mentioned about deep fake. It was about, more of a question of I don't know, well, there's a lot of questions around that, but
Yeah,
the issues that come up are one side is that side of what's real and what's not, and what people put in the eyes and hands of people and say this is the truth and don't even like question it. It's just like move on and accept that is the truth, and then
yep,
go from there. Then there's the other side of copyright, and if you create content and then the AI learns off of your content and uses that, and this whole Studio Ghibli question.
yep,
If you go in, I saw an example of an AI, and it said, make me into Optimus Prime. And it's, sorry, that is copyrighted. So it would make me
yep.
into the leader of the good robots, that came from, space, and then
And
there's
it does
Optimus
it.
Prime, right? And so you can. It doesn't take much to trick the platforms, but that clearly shows that that AI learned off of copyrighted material in
Yeah,
some form or another. And so there's this idea of ethical AI, right? And where do we draw the line, or what do those you know lines in the sand, where are they, and where do we like stop and start? And they definitely are not being answered. And the other thing that's interesting is US seems to be, everyone's looking at the US as the decider on this, whereas copyright is global, right? So like,
yep. Except for
why
China.
is it, except for China? I mean, they're copying, SpaceX rockets, but
Yeah.
yeah, like why is it that the U.S. is the center of this, and where is that kind of global, stamp on that? Is this a job of blockchain, and embedding data points into
Yep. Yeah.
content to say, this is used, this is created at this point, and having this sort of invisible tag to say, oh, yep, you use mine, pay me for it,
Yep. Well, that's going to
you
be the
know.
next thing, right? So let's go back to Omni because that's what I want to definitely punt today. And I said I was super stoked to see that come across LinkedIn. What are you hoping to achieve with this festival, right? So you've obviously got a place, the 29th of April. There's going to be a physical place where people can come and watch and enjoy the content that's been chosen. What's the reason? So I'm a creative. Well, I don't have to be. I can use AI, but why would I submit my content? What happens from here? Where are we going? What's next for Omni and the journey?
Sure. I mean, for an entrant, it's really just the opportunity for your content to be exposed and for people to see it and to get that visibility. For the people that are, going to come and watch or that would like to see, it's for those that are skeptics who, don't believe that AI can create quality content. Like film
Yeah,
is film. It'll never replace it. That's not. I don't think that's what we're trying to challenge. I think we're trying to say, what is a supplement? What is art? What is creativity? And can we use these tools to actually generate an emotional response?
yep,
Um, Musicians who are hardcore musicians who play instruments say, well, if I use Udio or Suno to create a song, that's not music. It's like, well, between
it
them, if you're
is.
playing a synthesizer, you're pushing buttons, right? And if you're typing on a keyboard, you're pushing buttons. So what
It
is the
is.
difference? And so
I
it's
mean, Nick Cave. Sorry to cut you off, but Nick Cave was quite vocal about the fact that you have to be at the bottom of the pit and feel the pain. I've seen some of the Nick Cave song generated by AI, and believe me, it's as good, if not better.
yeah.
So yeah. So I think also what I was getting to the question is, I'd like to be able to create movies, and I think this is the important part. I'm not a creative. I don't own a camera. I own 500 phones that have cameras, but I don't own a camera. Not to that level, right? I don't own lighting studios or sound production. I got a nice little rig here that's, they've got the Procaster and I can make sound effects and all that type of stuff. But what you've done now is you've given me an opportunity to sit down, think script, create, deliver, and share. That's pretty cool. I wouldn't be able to do that a year ago. Now, is there a way that you would then be able to teach people from this? You're now going to be finding the next batch of really super creative people. I mean, you said you got 120 entries or something, 25 countries, and you know, how many entries were there? Sorry, I got that number wrong. It's
I think at
hundreds
this
and something.
point, I'm guessing that by the time April 10th rolls around, we'll have over 700. We got over 600 now.
Yeah, in
120 hours
25
of
countries.
content.
So
Yeah. You know, People look at some of the content that creators put out and the decent creators. It's not one person, it's one person with a team.
yeah,
You have someone editing, doing the camera work. You got someone doing everything in the background, the marketing, the publication, the social medias. It's a whole production. And with AI film, a lot of that and almost all of it can be done by one person, but you still have to put in the hours and spend the time to understand like how to write a good prompt, how to actually create those images that are going to go in to actually see the different tools. You'll see people using 4 or 5 different text to video AI generative platforms, or 3 different music ones, and then one doing the prompts for the scripts.
yeah,
Um, Another 2 different ones for the sound. So it's not just as easy as I can write a prompt and suddenly boom, I've got a masterpiece. And
yeah.
the question is, will we get there? Maybe. Um, but you've still got the need to spend that time. Like, to produce 2 minutes of really good content, it could
It's going to
be
be
a
20 or 30
day,
hours.
could be a
Yeah,
week. Yeah, totally, totally. And some of the stuff that's come in, I mean, yeah, there was one that was like 4 hours long. Like, I don't know how long
one
this person
piece.
spent one piece. So yeah, like you really have to wonder, what that person is doing with their spare time, or
Clearly
what
nothing.
they do.
So
Yeah.
I actually like to pick up on this. I consult on all different types of things, and the one thing that I always say with AI, it's the secret to AI is the prompt. That's where you need to sit down and actually script the prompt. And I use examples when I do presentations to customers. I always do a visual. I use visual because visual is always the easiest. So I want an octopus sitting on a bench, and I get this little funny thing. I go, actually, I want an orange octopus sitting on a wooden bench with 3 screws, with the sun coming down in the background. He needs to be photorealistic, but the background, So, and then all of a sudden, I'm starting to get closer and closer and closer to what I want. So here's the question, because this is the thing that's actually, I'm going to say, scare me when it comes to thinking about creating film as opposed to images. I can write that prompt about my octopus and I can change him. I even made him steampunk, right? And then he had on his tentacles all cool wheels and cogs. Now, when you shoot film and you said it yourself, you have a team, you've got a cameraman that knows if he aims his camera into the sun, he ain't recording anything. He's getting flare. That's what he's getting. And you've got a director that tells the person they need to stand on this side because they know where the cameraman is, and so on and so on. So, how does it work for all those people that are intrigued, myself included? And maybe I'll enter in OMNI's festival in 2026. But I now write a prompt the same as I would for any other form of AI. How do you direct the camera or the lighting, or how would you go back and edit like you would in an edit studio? Are these silly questions, or is this part of what AI generative film is all about? Because that's to me is obviously where the time is. When you're sitting there in post production on a normal shoot, how does that correlate to AI film?
That's great questions. I mean, the first one is that all of these films, they still need to be edited, right? So there isn't as far as I know, like a magic editor where you just say, okay, here's all the individual clips, throw it in there. The clips that are generated are usually between like 5, maybe max 8 seconds. And so you can take two clips that are next to each other and have them kind of blend and continue. But that's usually done in the editing. And you bring up an excellent point in that if I don't understand photography and lenses and lighting
Yeah,
and these sorts of things, um, I can't tell the AI to do what I want it to do if I don't understand how that is. I mean, I'm in a studio right now, right? There's lighting, in the space here. So without that instruction, I can go and search and see what other people have done and copy that and say, I like that, and look at their prompt and copy that because most of the platforms allow you to see those prompts. But it takes that intrinsic knowledge of how things work. And so if you're using like Ideogram or Midjourney or any of these platforms understand everything there is to understand about setting up a photo and lighting and these sorts of things. And when you put them in, it will do and approximate what it is you're asking it to do. Is it a Canon lens or this kind of lens or Carl Zeiss, whatever, and it will kind of have that understanding of the finite differences of what those are. And the challenge is that I think with anything, you can't just walk in and be like, okay, I'm going to be, Mozart. You still got to learn the basics,
yeah, yeah.
right? And so that's kind of where you go into ChatGPT and say, okay, create a course for me to learn how to prompt Midjourney so I can produce these kinds of images.
Yeah.
Then you can learn and teach yourself, but you still have to you have to spend that time to do that. It's not just
I
a
think
flip of the
that's
switch.
probably what puts off most people, and that also strengthens the argument that AI is not necessarily taking our jobs; it's enhancing us. Sure, there are going to be jobs that go, but it would be no different from any other evolution. When the steam engine came, jobs were lost, but those people found other things to do. This is now the new steam engine, but it's exactly that, right? And that's always been a big challenge for us in the gaming industry as well. You set up the camera angle inside the computer has to film from a certain angle to see what it is that you needed to see. I don't have that knowledge. I still have to pay someone to do that. So it's interesting that you say that although you've got the tool that can, let's say, capture and or create what it is, you're still going to have to know how to edit it or, you know, do something to it. You're not just going to go there, print, and off it comes. I mean, the speed is incredible. And I'm assuming it's the same for motion as well, that you can tell it to do something, 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 and maybe in motion it's minutes instead of seconds. But in traditional film, you have to go and find the location, pray that it's not raining or too windy or too dark or too light or whatever. I mean, people go to a film set. I've spent many years in film production in a previous life. You can sit there all day waiting
Yeah.
for that exact moment before you can go out and shoot the scene. And then, of course, it still can get cocked up. So, that takes all of that away. We can get content to production much quicker, but you still have to actually produce the content. It's not magic. So would you is that one of the things that will be coming out of this, is that you're going to start showing people how to create this content? What's the journey? I'm just conscious of time, so I want to find out what happens? Like, so the festival's there, people are going to win some awards or some cool stuff, and then what happens? What's next? What happens after the first one?
That's a great question. So this is a biannual film festival. This is the first one. It's at zero point 0.5. It's really kind of get a taste and test to see,
Okay.
yeah, what the interest is and how people feel about it. October will be the first, I guess, larger one, coinciding with South by Southwest.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Really, for both Travis and I, for different reasons, we're passionate about film, and passionate about AI, and passionate about pushing the boundaries of technology. And on the one hand, I consider myself a purist of sorts, and like and believe in creativity and in the human mind and ability to produce. The other side is, but I want to see what people create, and some of the stuff that's come in is just blowing my mind. I mean, what was in that trailer is nothing. I mean, yeah. If you do
Did you
come,
use
you get
AI
to see
for
it.
this trailer?
Some AI, actually, yeah. AI was a soundtrack. AI was pulling the things together in the cuts. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, it's
And is
it's
that you in the black and white cartoon?
no, it's not.
It's the kind of face you would pull, buddy. Like, for those that aren't
Yeah,
watching this, they're gonna have to find it on YouTube. But I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, that's a Sternberg kind of face." Like, but,
yeah, no.
I mean, so I'm with you, right? I like to write, and in my current role, I write a lot. I write a lot of EDMs, a lot of blogs, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, "Surely I could just put this into ChatGPT and go and have a beer." Like, it'll be seconds. But I do. I put the ideas into ChatGPT and I let it, but I still need to write it because as good as it is, it's not human. And it doesn't have that emotive. So I don't think you and I are at risk of losing the creativeness of the human mind in that. You got to treat it just a different way. You can be as creative as you want. Now we've got a super cool tool that can take that creativity that we previously couldn't put on paper or into celluloid for that matter and actually share it. Um, I do think, though, generally humans will become lazy. I think it's going to be so much easier. Don't judge me, but even though I'm totally Apple everywhere, I use Gemini as my choice of bot and agent. I have the Gemini paid version on my iPhone, and I talk to it all day long. I have this conversation with this agent. I have changed the voice to male to make sure that I don't have women telling me what to do all day long. Love you, girl. But the thing is that I am becoming lazy. And when I used to just Google something, which, let's be honest, is also lazy, now I don't even do that anymore. I just talk and it comes back. So we are going to see the human become lazier, but we're also going to become so much more creative than we currently are. And we can start to do and share things that probably weren't possible before. I mean, we can bring back people that are no longer here and put them into movies, and that's awesome. There's people that died way too young that could have done so much more, or singers or whatever. So yeah.
I, there's a project I'm working called the Companion, or for lack of a better name, and it's a GPT that allows people, and really targeting elderly people in care, or who above the age of kind of social media and active on the internet, to tell stories as they would tell a story. It transforms it into a children's book and illustrates it
Oh,
in a style
that's
that they'd
cool.
like. And the intention is twofold. One is to capture the memories and these vignettes of people's lives, for the next generations, but also to give purpose and meaning back to those elderly people who just sit there watching daytime television with lots of terrible ads for pharmaceutical products. But
What is
that
that?
idea, the companion, I can share the link later.
Take it up in the
It's
show
a
afterwards, please.
GPT. Yeah, but I think that how we use these tools and what we use them for, um, we will transition into a different way of doing things. And like for you and I, we're in that straddling point where we used to use a telephone with a rotary phone, right?
Don't give our
And
age away, but come on.
yeah, no, I know, but this is there. And in the same way, 5, 10, 15 years from now, looking back on today, what that technology is and how it's embedded, literally and figuratively in our lives,
Yeah. Yeah.
we can't even imagine. But right now, like talking to a bipedal robot, whether it's Optimus or one of these ones from China, figure, it's insane what's coming just around the corner. And I think that's really what we want to capture with Omni, is open that door to say, show us, let's open the doors and let everyone see it. I will say April 29th, 6:30 p.m. at the Knox Street Bar. You can go to Eventbrite and search for OMNI Generative Film Festival. It is limited seating. It's 50 tickets, and they're going pretty quick. So would love to see you there. Brett, if you can come down, we'd love to have you down there. But we'll try to have the winners up on YouTube, so people can see some of them. I've got one favorite that is my daughter just can't every night. I want Miss your moosh, which is
Oh,
Mr. Fly
nice.
in French. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, well, I was watching one that literally, the one that's in the trailer of the ice skating, like,
Yeah.
the first time I watched it, and multiple times, like, I literally teared up. Well, I tear up at everything, but like it hit me pretty hard because it's just an incredible story. And that's the thing, if you can create that kind of emotional response, does it matter if it's real or not?
No, I'm with you.
You know,
And
right?
so I'm like playing video games. There's nothing real about them, but you can immerse yourself into. For that one moment in time, I'm the best shot in the world. Actually, no, that's never happened ever. But I pretend that I'm the best shot in the. I get killed the best ever. It'll be the best ever kill that's ever happened when I get killed. Dude, awesome. Super proud of you. Really good to have you back on the show.
Thank
Gonna follow this journey. Tag up anything that you want on the show, post show when I always put the comments up. And good luck with it. It doesn't sound like you need luck with the festival, but maybe I can get down there. I never know what my movements are from day to day. But well done. It's innovative. It's cool. It's tech. It's awesome. So well done to both you and to Travis. And we'll follow the journey, man. So yeah, thanks for joining us. As I said, tag up everything, and we'll take it on from there. So
Awesome.
let's just finish up the show at the moment. Thanks. Sorry, I appreciate that, buddy. Just going to go back into the last bits and pieces. I don't have any questions today. I wasn't planning to. I knew when Aryeh and I get on the show together, it's always going to run over the allotted time, which is great. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It's super informative, super scary, super exciting. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I think that probably it takes us to that time of the show, which is until next time, keep your screens clean and your knobs shiny.